All right, welcome back. Got an open segment here, and first and foremost, these open segments I love because I get to talk to you about all the stuff that I want to talk about, and I take a lot of feedback from our audience. So send me any feedback. I love the interactivity. If you could, we're monitoring the Facebook at all times, and if you could, drop us a comment in there and tell me this. Here's my question for today. If you could give me a comment on this. Do you think the main thing for women in this year's presidential election is security? Okay, just drop me a yes or no. And the question is security the top issue for women this year? Because that's what a lot of women are telling me on Women Wednesday. I'm talking about the women's topics, and I will say this, we have been getting a tremendous amount of feedback when I rip the manhole cover off and go down the rabbit hole, and I'm talking about Pizzagate. And for those of you who don't know what Pizzagate is, it's this vast conspiracy that's getting a lot more traction, and there's a lot of evidence popping up around it that it's true. And there are more and more questions around everyone who is at least an arm's length within Jeffrey Epstein and the whole circle of the Clinton cartel seems to mysteriously die of odd causes. They fall off a bridge, they jump off a building, they hang themselves, and the ring of death around Jeffrey Epstein just keeps getting bigger, okay? And I think it's Monday, a whole bunch of stuff that's been under seal from the Jeffrey Epstein civil lawsuit from Ms. Giuffre. I think all of that stuff is going to be unsealed. The actual flight logs, there's been a lot of stuff out there that the flight log, this person's on it, that person's on it. The actual flight logs and other information will be released by the court in the next week unless something comes from above. But like, a guy like Isaac Cappy, who was just, a regular go-along Hollywood actor, good second role guy, real good character actor. He started acting up and talking out about how, he got lured into this pedophile ring and he's fingered people. And suddenly the guy fell off a bridge in front of a truck. It was odd. But, I wonder how big this story gets. We talked about last week how there's a whole bunch of anecdotal evidence out there, people citing Justin Bieber speaking at his Bible study class about being lured into a room where they were doing an exsanguination ceremony where they had a dead kid on the floor and they were draining its blood and drinking it. Strange crap. But in the same token, Justin Bieber has not taken any legal action to get these posts taken down. So until I see something like that, I got to believe some part of it is true, because if I was as famous as him and I had all his money and someone put that out there about me, it wasn't true, I'd have my lawyers swarming him in 2 seconds. Get that down. I didn't say that. Don't aggravate all the music industry executives by making up stories about me. He's not doing that. So it's kind of, feeding me to want to talk about this topic a little more. And as we get into that, there's a lot of conspiracy theory out there that Ellen is part of this cabal, the famous Ellen DeGeneres. And there's a story out there now that there's a big investigation going on the Ellen show. She's currently under internal investigation by Warner Media for a toxic work environment. Allegations have gone public. A memo was sent out to the show's staffers last week that they're using a third party to conduct interviews. And it says here, Eric Schiffer, the chairman of Reputation Management, weighed in on the results, how they could have deadly consequences for Ellen and her brand. Now, I found that interesting because if Ellen is actually part of this whole Epstein Island thing, and it's alleged that she visited Epstein Island and flew on his plane, and if you do a side-by-side between the picture of the temple on Epstein Island and Ellen's set, they look identical. And when this guy Eric Schiffer says this could have deadly consequences for Ellen, I think if Ellen is part of this whole thing and she starts opening her mouth, that could have deadly consequences for her, because everyone near Jeffrey Epstein seems to mysteriously die. Someone said that, Ellen's been silent on the matter, but she's been arrogant in her approach to dealing with the allegations. It's all happened under her leadership. And in Hollywood, the buck stops at the star's name on the door. And it would be impossible for her to not know what was going on with her staff. She said the statement explains that the day-to-day responsibility of the show is completely on the producers. So Ellen's trying to pass the buck on this one. And it seems like there's a spiral of things going on around everybody that happened to be notably mentioned in the Epstein flight logs or visitors to Epstein Island. And on another note, a lot of people in the conspiracy theory, the Q, the awakening, where one goes, all that other stuff, the waga. Tom Hanks is mentioned in there a lot. And he's one of probably the biggest actors of all time. But oddly enough, both he and Rita Wilson announced just yesterday that they both have become Greek citizens. So, and they were shown on Facebook waving around their Greek passports. So, some of the key alleged conspirators in this whole Hollywood elitist cult of Jeffrey Epstein and friends, some of the key people mentioned in there, Oprah's mentioned in there sometimes, Jay-Z's been mentioned in there, Kevin Spacey, Ellen, Tom Hanks. Looks like Ellen could be losing her show. And that could be a cover because they know other things are happening. And Tom Hanks, who's often mentioned as a part of this cabal, he's suddenly changed his citizenship to, he's now a Greek citizen. And I don't know what the extradition policy we have with Greece is. I'm going to look into that. But if Tom Hanks was so sure that Joe Biden was going to win, I would think he'd be hanging around. He wouldn't be stamping his passport to move to Athens. So, we'll keep you posted on all of that. Jess, what are the other great stories today? Anything else that we need to talk about? You were going to hit me with like 5 pop culture stories every day or something. Not today? No, she's shaking her head. Nico's back, and he's healthy. He's feeling good again. Late, of course, after 2 days off, but, that's growing pains. Just a maturity thing, but doing a fantastic job. Great show we have put together for you today. But Jess has been moved down a notch back to assistant producer, and Ava's been bumped into the back. My daughter Ava's now just back to a little old intern. But we should have had Ava and Jess running the show today on Woman Wednesday. We should give Nico off on Wednesdays maybe, or let him just be on air with me or something else, and let the ladies run the show. That would probably be a great day. But all right, big tech CEOs are at an antitrust hearing down in Washington. I'll cover that a little later on because there is a lot to talk about there. But right now we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Karen Turk, former Mrs. Florida, activist and political commentator of Behind the Headlines on YouTube. And we're going to go even deeper down the rabbit hole with Karen Turk right after this.